Where'd I go?
Hi, everybody. Ruth Anderson here with day 6 of Enlightened Women, Enlightened You Summit. And we're here today with Olivia Parr. She was presenting today in her video with Anumani Santos, and Anumani can't be here today, but we're so pleased to have Olivia. So Olivia, do you want to come on and say hello?
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone to this exciting Facebook Live. Thanks.
And Terry is not with us here with us today, but we've got Deb Goldberg, and I'm thrilled that she's going to be setting our intention for us. But before we get started today, Deb and I were having conversation about the need for rejuvenation and taking good care of ourselves. So just a reminder to you all today that you are so important to us and you're important to yourself. So really try to take good care of yourself while we're going through this summit, and of course, every day after that. So why don't we go ahead and get started, Deb, with your intention for the day.
Okay. I want everybody to set our intention that we're going to call in, know and feel the love of our Creator as we receive the support and wisdom that flows through our speakers and this community of participants. It is a shared experience of love and healing from a river of love that washes away anything that is not serving you. Allow the purity of this community to uplift and remind each person of their divine creation and perfect beloved individual expression. Connecting within and centering ourselves in our heart opens the flow for the divine to bring forth whatever needs to come through for each one of us to speak and hear. Each encounter is an opportunity to flow love, peace, compassion, and joy. To touch the heart of another with a smile, a kind word, or uplift their spirit so that they can remember that there is always love surrounding them. We are here to support and raise the consciousness of others, and it happens when we are heart-centered. We go forward today in our highest, bringing heart and soul into everything, knowing that every face we encounter is the reflection of God, and every situation is in divine order. God bless you, and amen.
Okay, thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to share with you all that it's a packed house in here today. Deb, I don't know if you're getting a lot of spiritual involvement today, but I certainly am. I've been I've been enjoying the presence of Archangel Michael and Divine Mother all morning so far, and they're here, but it just, there's a lot of beings from the ethereal realm involved with us today. So,
yeah. And I wanted to say that probably those 500,000 angels that you have seen, that we also need to call them in here in this summit.
They've been, actually. Yes, I have experienced them, and I've also experienced a number of the spirit guides of the speakers and the participants. And the numbers are getting bigger on the other side. So we know that here in the physical realm, we have about 520 people signed up for the summit. Now, I don't know how many of them are actively watching the videos every day, but we know we've got about 130 in the Facebook group. So we know at least 130 of them have been checking out some emails about the summit. So it's growing. We're still getting people joining us.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting. So why don't we go ahead? We're going to watch the video here. And at the end of the video, Anumani walks us through a sound healing, which is really precious. Now, I do want to make one disclaimer here. I am the video editor. And what happened on this video, you'll see that there's a couple of times when Anumani is speaking where it's just the photo of her because she wasn't talking loud enough during the Zoom recording. So it was just on me the whole time. I didn't want to watch 30 minutes of me. I really didn't. So I put up a photo of Anumani there. So just so you're at least thinking of her, but I think that's more towards the end. So my apologies that I wasn't cognizant enough as we were recording to say, whoops, I can't hear you. We need to do that over. So next summit, I'll be so much smarter. Okay, so let's go with the magic of video here. Hi, I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson. I'm here with Enlightened World Network. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Enlightened Women. I encourage you to grab a cup of coffee, whatever your favorite beverage is, make yourself at home, settle in, and just relax. Enlightened Women is a show about women who are living lives in alignment with their soul's calling. In these episodes, we not only talk about what these enlightened women are up to, but what their latest learnings are as a spiritual being having a physical experience. I'm so excited today to introduce you to two fabulous women, Olivia Parr and Anumani Santos. Now, Olivia calls herself a corporate love ambassador, and Anumani is a modern day shaman. So what in the world do these two women have in common? Sit back and we'll find out. So Olivia, would you mind giving us a few minutes of what has brought you to this place in life?
Thank you for having me. It took me many years to have the courage to call myself a corporate love ambassador. It was a long journey where I started in the corporate world about 28 years ago. I was before that, a spiritual seeker and kind of an earth mom for 10 years. And when I landed in the corporate world, I was really traumatized by the culture. And as a data scientist in a very hot field, I was very successful in that part of my work. So over the years, I really paid attention to culture and how people were being treated, and started seeing how the technology and speed of change was driving business in a way that they actually could do better if they treated people better. So I started doing research on that, and that's really the crux of a book I wrote last year called Love at Work. And just to back up a little bit, I had written a couple technical books. So I have a reputation as an expert data scientist. It was kind of scary to come out with this book and naming myself the corporate love ambassador, but it starts out with data that really proves that love, as defined by compassion and caring, makes better profits for companies, and the data actually proves it. So I'm just excited now, a lot more courageous in stating what I'm about. And I'm actually getting really great feedback from people in the data science field. So I think it's time to just go for it.
Interesting, thank you. And Anumani, what has brought you to this place in life?
Let's see if I can do this in a short way. So I also have been in corporate for about 30 plus years. I started as an electrical engineer, then got my MBA, and stayed in corporate working until I've kind of gone back and forth into consulting as well. But it was 2003 that was really a marked year for me. So that was the year I had my dream of awakening. I talk about it in my book called Unmasking Your Soul. So up until that point, I was quite asleep, I would say. I remember as a child having these dreams where I would be flying at night and then the angels would put me back in my bed. But I started to then experience life, as we all do. And I started to shut myself off from spirit. There was a part of me that just didn't feel safe in the world, didn't feel understood or accepted. So 2003, I was in an unhealthy marriage, hadn't had the courage to leave it. But that night when I had the dream, it was so lucid.
Hey, Deb.
Yeah.
I know what happened.
What?
Hang on. Okay, I know exactly what happened here, folks. We're going to start that over.
Okay.
I didn't do screen share. Thank you for letting me know.
Oh, you're welcome.
I need a technical crew here. Now we're going to try it again. Now you can see it, right, Deb?
I can see it on the Zoom screen. When let me look and see. It's not on the Facebook screen.
Okay, well, hold on one second. How about now?
Yes.
Yeah?
You're seeing from before. Yes.
Yep. Okay. We're going to try this again. Thanks for your patience, folks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson. I'm here with Enlightened World Network. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Enlightened Women. I encourage you to grab a cup of coffee, whatever your favorite beverage is, make yourself at home, settle in, and just relax. Enlightened Women is a show about women who are living lives in alignment with their soul's calling. In these episodes, we not only talk about what these enlightened women are up to, but what their latest learnings are as a spiritual being having a physical experience. I'm so excited today to introduce you to two fabulous women, Olivia Parr and Anumani Santos. Now, Olivia calls herself a corporate love ambassador, and Anumani is a modern day shaman. So what in the world do these two women have in common? Sit back and we'll find out. So Olivia, would you mind giving us a few minutes of what has brought you to this place in life?
Thank you for having me. It took me many years to have the courage to call myself a corporate love ambassador. It was a long journey where I started in the corporate world about 28 years ago. I was before that, a spiritual seeker and kind of an earth mom for 10 years. And when I landed in the corporate world, I was really traumatized by the culture. And as a data scientist in a very hot field, I was very successful in that part of my work. So over the years, I really paid attention to culture and how people were being treated, and started seeing how the technology and speed of change was driving business in a way that they actually could do better if they treated people better. So I started doing research on that, and that's really the crux of a book I wrote last year called Love at Work. And just to back up a little bit, I had written a couple technical books. So I have a reputation as an expert data scientist. It was kind of scary to come out with this book and naming myself the corporate love ambassador. But it starts out with data that really proves that love, as defined by compassion and caring, makes better profits for companies. And the data actually proves it. So I'm just excited now, a lot more courageous in stating what I'm about. And I'm actually getting really great feedback from people in the data science field. So I think it's time to just go for it.
Interesting, thank you. And Anumani, what has brought you to this place in life?
So let's see if I can do this in a short way. So I also have been in corporate for about 30 plus years. I started as an electrical engineer, then got my MBA, and stayed in corporate working until I've kind of gone back and forth into consulting as well. But it was 2003 that was really a marked year for me. So that was the year I had my dream of awakening. I talk about it in my book called Unmasking Your Soul. So up until that point, I was quite asleep, I would say. I remember as a child having these dreams where I would be flying at night, and then the angels would put me back in my bed. But I started to then experience life, as we all do. And I started to shut myself off from spirit. There was a part of me that just didn't feel safe in the world, didn't feel understood or accepted. So 2003, I was in an unhealthy marriage, hadn't had the courage to leave it. But that night when I had the dream, it was so lucid, I woke up knowing that that was the first thing I needed to do. I was in an elevator with 3 other women, and you know how in movies the cable breaks loose and the elevator starts skidding through over this muddy water, which really was the emotional turmoil that I was experiencing. It was one of those dark nights of the soul. And in the dream, the most potent part was the end, when I heard a voice that said, "My child, I have a mission for you. You're not going to understand what it is, but be patient, because in time it will all be revealed." It's like that moment, for those who know about the energy centers, just snapped open my crown chakra. And I woke up from that dream with all this courage and a knowingness that I needed to change my life. And it was the first time I felt I had the courage to do it. And subsequently to that, I started my journey. I left the unhealthy marriage. I started meeting people. I stayed in corporate. And so for many years, I was on 2 tracks, still doing my corporate work, but seeing clients and I didn't know what initially, I didn't know what it was that I was here to do. But over time, as I started to connect with my guides and started to meet people and really open up, I discovered that I was here to be a healer. And I call myself a modern day shaman because I wasn't trained in the jungles lineage. My lineage comes directly from the divine. I had a lot of what I think most would consider mystical experiences, where I was taken into temples, and that's how my gifts were awakened. And it wasn't really until about 6 or 7 years ago where the channeling started, and I really started using my voice. Initially, it was just hands-on healing, and now it's all through my voice, using crystal bowls, channeling light language, different beings who speak through me. And it's interesting because I feel it's full circle. So I had one of the jobs that I was in, the market changed, and they ended up downsizing. So I went back into consulting, but still was seeing coaching clients. And I still have coaching clients who are doing the deep, deep spiritual work, which is really, I would say, what my book is helping people with, is really to connect with their souls. But about 2 years ago, the divine said, you need to stop separating, because you need to be you no matter where you are. And so September of last year, I was doing consulting, again, still seeing clients as well. And I got an offer to go back into corporate. And initially I resisted. I was like, no, but I kept getting the message, you need to do this, there's a bigger reason. And I'll talk more about this later, but now I understand the bigger reason was I had finally integrated both of those parts of me. So part of what I teach people is, right, the deeper embodiment of the soul while you're in this human vessel. And that's part of what I am really modeling now that I'm back in corporate, is being me and bringing my light no matter where I was. Before, I was kind of checking my light at the door. There's no place in corporate for spirit, because my ego was trying to make me believe that there was a certain box that spirit fits into. And I learned that that's not really true. And so that's a lot of the work that I've been doing in the last several years, is really integrating all those parts of me and allowing myself to show up as who I am, no matter where I am.
So when I first spoke with Olivia and I heard about her bringing love into the workplace, and then I spoke with Anumani and I heard about her bringing soul into the workplace, and I thought, what an amazing combination of women here, bringing heart and soul. into the workplace.
What I'm trying to do is bring more consciousness into the way we're approaching things. And I always say that my role is to open hearts and to really allow that love to be expressed in meetings, in conversations, even in the difficult conversations. So I wanted to just explain that I'm not telling everybody in the world like I'm a shaman. Some of them know that I'm a shaman, and it naturally, the conversations have happened organically. I haven't had to say anything. It's like the divine plants the seed, and then they say something, and somebody asked me, "Are you a Reiki master?" And I said, "No, I'm a shaman." And it just opened the doorway for a deeper conversation. And I've witnessed spontaneous healings and awakenings. So I know that I just need to be myself and allow the divine to express through me in a place that I never imagined, right? I didn't imagine myself being here. I kind of resisted because, like you, Olivia, I was like, oh my God, these cultures. And I was tired of being in all these corporate environments where people weren't treated very well, including myself. But this really has changed, I think, my level of healing, because what I found was that there were moments where I was being really triggered, old wounds that I had, old patterns from previous corporate environments that I had been. And it opened the doorway for me to go to that place and use my own tools on myself to be self-aware, like, oh, this is coming from this experience I had before. Let me work on this so I can shift it. And as I've been doing that, it's opening the doorway for me to be able to hold space for others to do the same. And it's been amazing.
I really appreciate hearing how you're bringing your own personal spiritual experiences into the workplace. And we all are here as spiritual beings having a physical existence. And with that comes the stress of work, or, family issues, politics, the weather, whatever it might be that is impacting us. What is it like for you? We'll start with Olivia. What is it like for you being a spiritual being, having a physical existence? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis for you?
That's a great question. I think I would be a lot more stressed if I didn't have that connection. I think that just from a 3D reality, or from just looking at ourselves as human only, the world looks scary. I am receiving guidance that we're moving in the right direction. And I'm also receiving feedback from people around what I'm planning to do in the corporate world that's so inspiring. I do feel like the consciousness is raising on the planet. It's going higher, and that the younger people in the corporate world aren't like we were, or I was back 25, 30 years ago on average. So Anumani and I are probably more rare in our age group, or when we were first starting out in the corporate world. Now it's so exciting because a lot of these young people say they want to be seen for who they are, not just what they do, and they want to make a positive difference in the world. And I actually talked to SAS a few weeks ago, a big software company, because I was thinking of publishing something with them, and the head of publishing said that when people interview now to work for SAS, they ask the person interviewing them, what are you doing to make the world a better place? And that just was so exciting for me. So I get inspired by that. And when I see things every day that bother me, I try to just tap in, go to my higher wisdom, ground myself like we do when we start to connect with people. And then it calms me. And I'm actually quite excited about the future. I think we're really heading in a positive direction. And with the angelic, I feel like the angelic help is closer now and more available. And I think we're going to have heaven on earth pretty soon.
Nice, thank you. And Anumani, what's it like for you on a day-to-day basis?
So there's a couple of things I want to say is I always encourage my clients to do the same. I meditate twice a day. Sometimes the work hours don't allow me to do that, but I always at least try to get my morning meditation in. And that helps to set the tone for the rest of my day. And I'm very big on self-care. So yesterday I had my, every 2 weeks I do acupuncture, and I ended up getting a massage as well. All of that contributes to me being able to step into a corporate environment and having released some of the stress and the energy, because we're still human, right? There's still days when I feel the stress of a deadline, or the personalities that are interacting, and really paying attention, because I believe that really bringing consciousness in is the self-awareness and the emotional intelligence. And I've caught myself a couple times in old patterns, or saying something that the me that I know is the real me really wouldn't say. And so, but I forgive myself for that, because I know that I'm still human, and that's okay. And that we can't try to chastise ourselves or say, oh my God, why did I do that, right? It's more, okay, I'm aware that I just did that. And there's been occasions where I've actually apologized to somebody on my team, because I knew that the way I came across was really coming from an ego place. And it really wasn't the way that I would have wanted to, but I got carried in the energy of the stress that was happening in the moment. Many times I've had to break from what I'm doing and just start journaling for 5 minutes, because I knew that was going to help shift the energy. So I try to bring my own tools into work. Sometimes I love music, so I will wear my wireless headphones and maybe listen to, I love Gregorian chants. I love, any type of Tibetan bowls. And so I know what my body needs. And so just even doing a 1 minute, okay, it's time to listen to something to be able to shift the energy. So I feel stress like other people do, but I think because I'm doing the spiritual practice, I'm finding it affects me less. Before, I would say that it would take me longer to recuperate from something. And now I'm finding that very quickly recuperating, because I'm doing the work to do my meditation, but also doing the tools. If I need to take a walk, or if I need to go into the ladies' room just to regroup or take a breath. And again, also bringing it to our team, because we all know that the more we bring our light, it's like a chain reaction. Then they know, they can see that they can bring their light. And it just creates a different environment. And I'm starting to see that by me setting the example, others are feeling comfortable doing the same. And so it helps all of us, not just me, but them as well, because now they're doing it in the workplace, and I know they're doing it at home as well. But most importantly, I think, is to remind people, and this is what one of my team members said to me. He goes, I thank you for showing me that it's okay to be human. Because our first reaction is to, beat ourselves up about it. Like, oh my God, what did I just do? Or what did I just say? And it's forgiving yourself in the moment, but doing the work to shift it, whatever that may be. For me, sometimes it's having a conversation with somebody, or using a tool to move through the energy. And it's real. I mean, we're all feeling the energies of others. So it's normal that experience is going to happen. It could be with a family member, it could be at work, it could be anywhere you are. So being aware of that, and then what you do with that, I think, is the important thing.
So starting with you, Olivia, is spirit working on you at this point, teaching you things in life right now?
Absolutely. And I didn't mention much about my daily practice, but I also meditate, not always twice a day, but I do find that that's so important. And then I sometimes get information, guidance. I often ask for guidance around decisions and things. And then I also have learned to be forgiving because, yeah, I call them sometimes cosmic 2x4s that we get hit with that might throw us off. And so I think we're all still human. I have things I regret often or want to have things turn out differently. Sometimes I'll just ask why things happen. What is the lesson here? And sometimes it's just to slow me down, I think. And so I think that's where I get most of my information is through the meditations. And then also I check in a lot and I use kinesiology sometimes when I'm really in my left brain. So I'm almost constantly muscle testing for answers to decisions I want to make.
I do muscle testing all the time, actually. And as an example this morning of the lesson I got in meditation, my mother has dementia and she's in assisted living, and they want to have the conversation about moving her into memory care. And I internalized that and was crying. I was just feeling so guilt-ridden. Like, certainly if I had spent more time with her, or if I had gotten her out of assisted living more, we could have, staved off the dementia. And I was really feeling bad. And I literally heard the words, "Are you done?" And I thought, okay, I'm not done yet. I'm just going to feel sorry for myself a couple more minutes here. Cried a few more minutes, and then it was like, "Are you done now?" And it's like, okay, yes, I'm done now. And I heard the words, "Do you really think that you are strong enough to stave off the natural progression of the aging mind?" And when I heard those words, I thought, okay, my ego, obviously I've got a healthy enough ego, but no, I don't believe that I have the capabilities of staving off dementia. And just hearing those words from Spirit this morning really helped me to, it was a 2x4. It was a spiritual 2x4. Like, who do you think you are that you really could stave off dementia? But it was a great change of perspective for me that I'm not sure I would have come to myself today had I not had that spiritual, whack up against the side of the head. So, ladies, other spiritual things that you're hearing right now? I know, Olivia, you mentioned you are getting a lot of angelic downloads right now.
I am. So one of the things I'm dealing with is a move, my whole household. And this is where I've been using a lot of kinesiology, what to keep, what to donate, what to sell, all that stuff. And it's just this perfect timing that's showing up. So I'm trusting that it's all going to work out. It's really the final step in me letting go of sort of this corporate security blanket, which wasn't really allowing me to move into my new work. If I had a corporate gig, and maybe that'll happen where they want to bring me in to do more culture work, I would love that. But this was really draining my creative thinking energy. And I actually had a reading from a friend, and she said, yeah, it's this contract that you're spending 20 hours a week, it's taking all your creative energy. And since it ended, I have had so much fun just exploring what I can do with my newfound energy and time. And I just had this vision when it happened that my angels kind of kicked the security out from under me, and they're all hooting and hollering and cheering and saying, go for it, you're going to be successful. And I really trust that. So I'm giddy about the possibilities here. And I can sense the angelic joy when I go into that space.
There is nothing better than a bunch of hooting and cheering angels.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, Anumani, do you get timelines from the divinity? Because I don't. What I get is I'll get a little snippet of a picture of something, like writing a particular book or doing a podcast or something, and then I don't get a timeline. And so in my type A personality, I start putting together, the steps to make this thing happen. Well, some of those things don't happen for 2 years. And I just wish sometimes Spirit would give me a calendar and mark off when something is supposed to happen. Do you guys actually get timelines when Spirit tells you something's going to happen?
I would say yes and no. So for my book, no. And it actually took a lot longer than I expected. So this is what I believe is there's a timing for everything. And for me, at least, part of the work was surrendering to that, to know the flow of my soul, that if you try to push something and it's not ready to come into being, you're going to get frustrated. That's part of learning how to flow with the timing and with the aspect of your soul that's trying to guide you. There are times when they'll say in the summer months, right? I believe that the timelines can shift depending on what's happening around us, the choices we make, but even the choices that others make around us. So I don't ever have an expectation now of timing, because in the past, I've tried to force something, and then I know, like, oh, this isn't the right thing. This just isn't the right time. So I really think that we have to just allow the timing to show itself. Because I'm sure you have felt this, where all of a sudden you get into that zone and you go, oh, it's time. Like, it just starts happening. It starts, coming through you. And then there are moments where you're not feeling that inspiration or being in that spirit. And so maybe it's not time for that particular product or service to be birthed through you.
Right. I so believe in divine timing. And I think it's fascinating that Spirit gives me the little teaser of this is coming. And then when divine timing is right, it's amazing how fast things can happen. But until then, it's just sort of not going to happen. So yes, it is just a fascinating part of the journey. Olivia, do you deal with divine timing on your part too?
I do. And I think I mentioned earlier that it took me many years to figure out what my real work was. And then once I was committed to writing the book, Love at Work, it took me 7 years. I fought with outlines, all these things. And what I really think was happening was I wasn't ready to be that vulnerable, and the corporate world wasn't really ready for the message yet. And so my sort of way of going about things when I get guidance is I do what I can, I show up and I do what I know how to do. And then I just watch for things to show up to support me, or people to show up to support me. And I say, oh, that could help me with this action I've been divinely guided to do. And then if it, like you said, when the right stuff comes in to support it, it can go really, really fast. If it doesn't work, I say, okay, what did I learn? Or, that wasn't the right thing, but I got a little bit out of it, or I got really clear on what not to do. So I try to look at everything as, say, perfect timing, really, and then have patience. And Anumani mentioned self-care. I also have that interest and do a lot of the similar things, massage, acupuncture, all that stuff, because I know that if I'm patient, my work will come to fruition, and I want to be healthy enough to be around for that. So I just think, okay, it's not time, and I'll take care of my health, and I'll be here and ready and excited and energetic when it's really time to move forward. So right now, as I mentioned, I'm creating courses. I'd also love to do more public speaking and perhaps speak in corporations. And I'm being patient. The time will come, and I trust that, I'll be ready and be able to do it effectively.
Right. And so we are going to end with a special activity from Anumani that she's going to lead us in. But I just wanted to recap for a minute that Olivia Parr has a book called Love at Work, available on Amazon. And do you have another book, Olivia, as well? Or is that?
I do.
Yes.
It's called The Love at Work Method. It's kind of like a practice guide to go along with Love at Work. So yeah, thanks.
And both available on Amazon.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. And Anumani, Santos, Unmasking Your Soul, available on Amazon. So ladies, I love having you on here, and I love hearing how you are embodying spirit and having a physical experience and walking with spirit at the same time. It's fabulous. Thank you. So Anumani, will you close us out with some kind of a special guidance that I know you're getting from your special guides here?
Sure. So we're going to do a little bit of sound and see. Feels like a little bit of channeling and light language. So we're going to close our eyes and we're just going to set the intention for all those who are going to be able to watch this series, that as you sit in this sacred space, that you're setting the intention and just opening your heart to receive whatever it is that you need in this moment, your soul guiding you to open this space for what's next for you, to be able to live in this human body and allow that spirit part of you to continue to guide you forward. So beginning to take some breaths, and I'm going to play a little bit of sound on my crystal bowl. And just taking your breath into your heart center. And I want you to imagine that there's this beautiful stream of pink light coming in through the top of your head and into your heart. And I want you to think about something that perhaps is bothering you in this moment, something that perhaps may be in the way of you taking a step forward, of you surrendering more deeply to the voice of your soul, to the divine part of you. And we're just asking the parts of your subconscious, your soul, to support you, to bring that energy into your heart as you begin to swirl that beautiful pink light all around, within and through that energy, to alchemize whatever is there. Continuing to feel that beautiful love, pink light swirling within your heart, going all into all the places within your spiritual body, your mental body, emotional body, your physical body, and just helping to transmute and alchemize that which is in the way. And as that is being transmuted, allowing beautiful rays of light, white light, and perhaps you're seeing different colors, beginning to open up in your body in the places where new energy is beginning to emerge and birth. Netairo sotoro netiareta. Nishahalero netiaretu suhorota. And just speaking to your soul directly to open that space for you, to honor, embrace, surrender, and lift you into that place of love, to help you step forward on your journey, on your path, and help you bring your desires to fruition. And we know that as we speak this intention, it becomes truth now in this moment. Taking a breath into your hearts. And then slowly coming back and opening your eyes.
Thank you, Anumani. That was beautiful.
You're welcome.
Very, very calming. It was absolutely beautiful. So ladies, if our listeners want to reach out to you, Anumani, how would they follow you or find out more about you?
So they can come to my website, which is www.anumanispeaks.com. I'm on social media. If they type in Anumani Speaks in Facebook, they'll find my page. I'm also on Twitter, Truth Light Heal. I have a channel on YouTube, Anumani.Santos, and I'm also on Instagram under the same name, Anumani.Santos.
And for those of you that don't know how to spell Anumani, it would be Anumani, Santos. And Olivia, how would people contact you?
You can visit my website, oliviapr.com. I'm also on Facebook at Love Make It Your Business. And I'm on Instagram, it's Olivia Parr with 3 R's in the middle. And on LinkedIn at Olivia Parr.
Great. Thank you. Ladies, thank you so very much for being here with us today. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Right. So for our listeners, thank you for being with us here at Enlightened Women and on Enlightened World Network. And we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful conversation that we had.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
So I took notes because there were several things that you had said that I wanted to get back with you on, and we won't do all of them. But you talked about muscle testing. Now, when you do muscle testing, might be new for some of the folks that are listening here. What does it look like when you muscle test? What would we see?
I personally use my fingers this way. So I set it up each time to test, show me a yes, show me a no. And it just, my body strength changes. And it's sort of a way I feel of overriding my ego and just getting kind of directly to my intuition. There's other ways you can do it. You can find great articles online to show you. People that use pendulums, it's really the same kind of thing, although with pendulums you can perhaps get a little more nuanced answers, and I do use a pendulum sometimes if I'm wanting to count things. But yeah, it's really just testing muscle strength. And if anybody's ever been to a chiropractor, a lot of times they use that to test your strength. And there's great research around it as well, where it really seems to work beautifully. So I encourage everybody to try it and practice.
So with the muscle testing, I do it the exact same way. So I do the closed loop with my fingers. And the way I've had it explained to me is that when everything is in alignment, we are a closed loop of energy. And so that closed loop of energy would be this difficult to pull apart room, right? It's a closed loop. But then when there's something that comes in that disturbs the flow of energy, like a falsehood, an untruth, something that's not in alignment, then the loop is easily broken. And the way that I learned how to do it myself, we'll just take a quick little bird walk here, was to ask myself, and it works with yes, no questions. So a yes answer is where it's hard to pull the loop apart. A no answer is where it just comes apart very easily. And I learned how to do it by asking myself very easy, obviously yes questions. So things like, is my name Ruth? And so I do the closed fingers first, and then I ask, is my name Ruth? And I try gently to pull my fingers apart, and it stays closed because yes, my name is Ruth. And so ask yourself about 4 or 5 yes questions and just test your baseline yes for what it is. And then ask yourself an obvious no question. So it might be something like, do I own a cat? Well, no, I don't. And so it just easily comes apart. And once you've got that baseline of what a yes is and what a no is, then you can start using it for other things. And I've even used it for things like, do I want to buy this shampoo? Would this shampoo work well with my body? And I create the loops, and I will put the shampoo somewhere if I'm at the grocery store, like under my arm or somewhere on me. And I'll ask, is this shampoo good for my body? And if the loop stays closed, then yes, that shampoo's in alignment with my body. And if it doesn't, then I put it back on the shelf and I move on. So it's fun. It's very fun to do the muscle testing.
It really is. And one of the ways I started out by doing it in restaurants, like I would muscle test usually under the table. I'd pick a few meals that I was trying to decide between, and then I would go under the table and pick one. And then I would just notice, oh, did I like it, right? And the other way I practiced was in elevator banks. I would muscle test to see if I could guess which elevator was going to come first. So that's a good way to do it if you don't know the answer yet. And then one of the biggest learnings was I was asked to teach a course, and I needed to come up with a price. And so I did. And then I muscle tested, and it said I was too low. And I almost doubled it. And I gritted my teeth and I sent the email with my rate. And the guy responded within a few minutes, yes, I want to use up my budget. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would have gone much lower had I not muscle tested. So it can be really powerful and lucrative.
That's fun. Something else that you said, you talked about spiritual 2x4s. And it's a great visual, really. I mean, the spirit is typically more gentle than that, but it's a great visual for that. So thank you for bringing that to our mind. And then the other thing you said that I laughed at was about the angels hooting and hollering. And it's so true. I'm sure, Deb, you've had this experience as well, but times when something is being either acknowledged in the spiritual realm or something is happening, something's lining up to happen. And I have seen angels so excited and celebrating with me, whatever it is that's going on. So yes, they do hoot and holler, and they do share that excitement with us. It's very cool. So before we, I don't want to ask anything else yet. I want to hear Deb. Are there people out in Facebook land with us?
Yes, there's quite a few, and we have some questions. Dido asked, she was also asking a question from Anumani.
Anumani.
Anumani, thank you.
And Dido. Dido is our editor at Enlightened World. Right. So, yeah, Dido's our hero.
Well, I don't know that maybe Olivia can answer this, or you can, but she had asked what was the words or language she was using during the meditation.
That was light language.
Light language.
Yeah.
Okay. I never heard that before.
It's the way I understand it, and I have heard it and I've said it myself, but I think only once or twice. It's an angelic language. And Kalina Molnar, who was on with us sometime in September, she is, I'm getting goosebumps. She teaches light language. And so check out Kalina Molnar's website. She does beautiful activation ceremonies.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome. Another question. I wanted to know, how did Olivia know when it was time to put your books out? You talked about how long it took to write and the process of going through that, but how did you know when it was time to actually put it out there?
I got the idea, and just to kind of back up, I got guidance in the 90s. It was like 1997. I was very miserable in the corporate world, and I asked why I was there, and I got this guidance and a meditation that this is where you need to be to learn the skills to do your real work. So it was another 12, 13 years before I figured out my real work. And when I got the guidance to write this book, to really name love as a business tool, I started creating outlines, and I kept finding that I had some resistance, which was really around my own healing and being brave enough to state this. And as I said, I don't know that the business world was really ready yet. So what I think was the clue that it was time was that I started getting really solid ideas. I was able to put a good outline together. And then somebody came into my life. Actually, it was Rebecca Hall-Greiter, who I think was number 3 in the news. She came across my email as somebody that could help launch books. And I thought, all right, she's the person. And when I started to write it, I started out with my left brain with some research. Then I got into the middle part of the book. And it was the first time I sort of channeled. I think that's what I was doing, because I didn't know what I was writing. And it was really scary. And yet it was kind of flowing out, and it was really fun to do. And so I said, when I was finished, I said to Rebecca, can you read it and tell me if it even makes sense? And she said, yeah, it really does. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So then I asked a few other people. So yeah, I think that it just, because things got easy, that's really my way of telling, is when the resistance stops and things flow, then I know the timing's right.
Okay, that's good.
Hey, Deb, before you go on, Olivia, you said something else, and I wrote it down. It was during that same segment, and you said, I wasn't ready to be vulnerable yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think definitely that there is a piece of, for at least for me as a writer, and I think for you as a writer, it's one thing to put it all in writing. It's a whole other thing to put it out into the world. And it sounded to me like you had gotten to the point that you could put it in writing, but it took you a while before you were ready to let the world see you and see it.
Yeah, I think I'm still going through that process. And I love to put a shout out to my friend Steve Farber, whose book launched today, and it's called Love is Just Damn Good Business. And he's such a great guy, a leadership coach and teacher and business consultant. And so that's the other sign for me that it was the right time, is that other people are starting to talk about love. And it's really kind of coming out in many ways in conversations where I don't think the word love was used before. So
interesting. Deb, what else have you got?
I wanted to know what kind of courses that Olivia was working on.
Interesting question. So what I didn't realize until I wrote the book was that my learning, being kind of forced into the corporate world because my husband had health issues and I was the breadwinner at this point, I had to stay in and push myself to do things that terrified me. And so really what it came to was learning to love myself. That was the biggest learning for me. And I was a little hesitant to even come out with a course in self-love. And yet I was at a workshop or a little talk a few weeks ago, and I was in a small breakout group, and I mentioned that there were 2 other women, and they were probably in their 40s, and I mentioned that I was creating this course on self-love, and they said, oh, I want to take it. So I started testing it with other people, and I have a lot of people interested in it. So I feel like there's something there that I can teach, because I learned lots of skills and processes and tools that really help me. And I'm still working on it. And I can do this, which say 20 years ago, I wouldn't even say a word in meetings. So I've come a long way, and I know a lot of that. And just to be vulnerable and do what we're here to do, we have to have that kind of sense of, okay, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
So, Vito said, love the self-care. There's a bunch of comments. And let's see.
Can I speak while you're looking? Can I speak to the cosmic 2x4 comment that you mentioned, Ruth? So I look at those as major things, like losing my parents very young. I was almost died in a car accident. And I kept having things like this, breast cancer. And then even as recently as 4 or 5 years ago, I slipped and broke my wrist. And I kept what I get was, you better get on your path, or we're just going to keep pushing you to wake up. And so I now say every day, okay, I'm doing it. I do not need any more cosmic 2x4s. I must have been really hard-headed.
I understand. I've done that myself, and saying, can you just be more gentle sometimes?
Exactly.
Funny. I don't have any other questions. Self-love courses sound great. And any tips for sensitive souls at work?
Well, that's such a good question, because I think I hear people say, well, you have to get more thick skin. And I say the opposite. I think to be really sensitive, especially to guidance and higher knowledge and wisdom coming from angelic sources, we have to stay sensitive. So that's where I think the self-love comes in, is that we need to be vulnerable. I'm sure most people have heard of Brene Brown's work, where she was this hard-headed researcher that started studying the data and realized that vulnerability was really the birthplace of love and happiness and belonging. And so I want to encourage people to be vulnerable with a healthy knowledge of who they are, so that we can create healthy businesses together where everyone thrives. So that's really how I say that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I would add to that, I think we've got a number of empaths that are listening with us, that are part of our group. And an important piece of self-care for empaths is that you spend time probably every morning and every night and just literally put your aura back up around you and ask your guides for protection, and do what you need to do to keep other people's energy out and your energy in. And so a lot of that is having your aura up around you and staying centered. Because I know for a lot of empaths, it's very easy to get whacked by other people's energy. And it can just feel absolutely draining. So that self-care piece is huge.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember the Jewel song where she says, I'm sensitive and I want to stay that way. And so I've been criticized by people, some family members, about being too sensitive. And I used to react to it negatively. And then I started thinking, no, I want to be sensitive. So it's a great way to be, I feel. And you're right, Ruth, we need to really nurture and protect ourselves. And if people in our lives are draining our energy, then I think we just need to set loving limits and not be around those people.
Yep, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. So Deb, thank you so much for being here with us today, being a moderator. And Olivia, love you. Thank you. This is
love you.
So
Thank
glad.
you.
All right. So to all of our friends on Facebook, tomorrow we have Sue Broom. September 7 is Sue Broom Day. We are going to be doing Facebook Live at 10 o'clock Mountain Time in the morning. So if you want to have breakfast with us, we'd love to see you. So thank you so much. God bless.
Bye, everybody.